I'm going to do this one again over the shoulder with the camera in front of me, so that it's up close and personal and you can see what's going on. In front of you on the table are the things we need to install the connectors. I've taken the connectors out of their plastic bags. It makes life easier. You've got your boots. You see the little black boot here. You've got your SC connector here. It is a 50 micron 50 micron SC connector. Another one here, another boot there, and our laser. These are the things we need to put a connector set on. And of course, the fiber we're going to use. Now, first thing is, under normal circumstances in the real world, and let me get this so my hands are in front of you. There we go. You normally would put the boots on first before you did the cleaving and stripping and all that stuff. You'd put the boots on first. But of course, I didn't do that. It's a typical rookie mistake. I've done it many times. You complete the connector's great, and wait a minute, where's the boot? I forgot to put it on. So, put the boots on first. So that's what I'm going to do right here and right now. Just be careful that you don't break the glass. The glass is very strong when it's under the jacket, and it hasn't been stripped. But once you've stripped off the buffer coating and the outer jacket, the glass is very fragile. So you got to be careful with it. Now, this is where the laser comes in. First of all, these connectors have dust caps. You can see the dust cap here. Take the dust cap off. Dust cap is your friend, and we will keep the dust cap for later use. Now, we take our laser, we pop it open, and we put it on constant. So it is giving me a constant laser light coming out. And now I take the connector and I stick the ferrule, that's the tip that's sticking out of the connector, the white tip there. I stick that into the it's properly sized here, the feed hole where the laser comes out. And I stick it in there and I slide it all the way in. Now notice here that we have a bright red light there. That's the laser light that's coming through because the connector has not been finished yet. Now I'm going to try to do this. It's a little tough over the shoulder, but I'm going to try to do this. Here's what we're going to do. On the end of the connector, there is an open hole, the trough, if you will. And that's where we're going to slide our fiber in. Now when you're sliding your fiber in, you don't want to pull it in and out, okay? What you want to do is slide it in. I'm going to have to move a little bit here to get it started there. You want to slide it in, and now, do you see what has happened? You see how the light has gotten very dim? That's good. That means I got a good connector. Now notice I just turned the fiber a little bit and suddenly that light is a lot brighter. But if I turn it back the other way, I can make that light pretty much go out. Like that. Now, the light's out. I grab the wedge adapter here and I squeeze it. And my connector is completed. Now and I'm going to put my dust cap on. But before I do that, let me just show you that with the laser light connected to the fiber, to the connector, you see the laser light coming out on this end, so you know you're in business, right? Okay. Now, before I do the next one, I want to show you something I forgot to show you before. Okay, so let me just, okay. This is very important. When you're sliding the boot up here, the crimping or clamping mechanism inside this connector is not very strong, trust me, okay? So any back pressure on the white fiber, pulling the fiber back out of the connector will ruin the connector, absolutely 100%. Never pull back on the fiber. Once it's in and clamped, it's done. Do not pull back. Slide the boot up onto the connector, and your dust cap's in place, and your connector is completed. Now, it looks like the boots screw on, but they don't. They actually kind of stuff on, okay? Now, before we do the next one, let me just point something out to you. This is the way And these connectors come from AFL or Leviton. They're called fast connectors, and they're great. They're the best. They're the best you can get, and the price is right. So the connector comes mounted in this thing that they call a wedge adapter. Another name for a widget, but you'll see that it clamps the connector here, and then it's got this fat part down here. This is the part we're going to squeeze when we want to make the clamping happen inside the connector. And it's also where we're going to see the windows of the lighting, so we know what's going on. Now, when these connectors come from the factory, and they come in their little plastic bag, sometimes the connector has rocked out of the wedge adapter a little bit. It's tilted a little. So before you do a connector like these AFLs, or you use these AFLs, you take your finger, put this on a flat surface, no fiber yet, take your finger and push down on this to make sure it is firmly seated in the wedge adapter. It can rock out a little bit in shipping and stuff like that. Don't want that to happen. Or if it did happen, pushing down on it with your finger. Now, you're not squeezing the sides. You're pushing down on the top, and when you do that, it locks it into the wedge adapter. So now we're going to do the same process that we did before. We're going to take the connector. We're going to take the laser. We're going to stuff the connector onto the laser, and we're going to see that red light, right? Right. Now, we're going to take the fiber, and we're going to insert it. Am I inserted? Yeah, okay. We're going to insert the fiber. Yes, no, maybe? Try it again. I got to get this up here a little bit. Well, obviously I have what is potentially looks like a bad cleave here, because it's not doing anything to help me get that light put out, or it's potential that my cleave is a little too short. I will try one more time, and if not, we're going to take a minor break while I re-cleave this fiber. Yeah, we're not getting it. All right. Okay, now while the camera was off, I re-cleaved, I re-stripped, re-cleaned, and re-cleaved the fiber. And I tried it again in the connector that I was using before. And I get the same result. And I said, what's the problem? I got a new connector. And so this is a different one than the one we were using a few minutes ago. And you notice with this one, the light gets bright, the light gets dim, right? You can see that. Bright light, dim light. Give it a little turn, maybe get a little better, maybe get a little worse. And that's about as good as it gets right there. Okay? So now I'm going to pop the fat part. I'm going to squeeze these, and that clamps the fiber into the connector. The point about the bad connector is this. You will periodically run into a bad connector. It happens. And if you're going out on a job, I'm going to put the dust cap on here, but before I do that, let's just leave the laser on it for a minute. Okay, and you can see the laser light coming out this end real bright, and that's with the dust cap on. So you know you're rocking, right? You know you got a good one. So you pull this off, put the dust cap on, and slide the boot up. Real gentle, not pulling on the fiber from the back of the connector. Slide the boot up, and you kind of scroogey it on there. Push it on so it's on. And now you have the completed connector. Let me finish the story about the connectors. You will run into a periodic bad one. Here's the point. If you, let's say, are pulling a 6-count fiber from point A to point B in a building, and you're going to terminate all the fibers, which is exactly what you should do. Even if you're only using 2 of them, you should terminate all of them, because that's what a professional, responsible technician does. If that would mean 12 connectors have to be installed. If you have to install 12 connectors, you should have a bag of 15 or 20 of them. Why? Because you're going to run into the occasional bad one or the problem like I had. And if you have to put on 12 and you're 50 miles from the office and one of your connectors is bad, well, not good. So have spare connectors sufficient, I would say 1.5 connectors for every one that you need to install, and then you'll have complete confidence because you know, if I screw one up, I get a couple of spares, right? So this is the way that we do the connectors, and we use the laser light. We use the laser light, which is really helpful to tell us that the connector is good in the process of putting the fiber in. So there's our two connectors. There's our laser light. This fell off the laser light here. But that, ooh, that's where that comes from. All right. So here's our laser light. All right. We got our laser. We got our two connectors, and now we're good to go. And what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about your tester, and then we're going to test these what we just built here. Now, let me point this out. What we just built here, and let's get the whole thing in the screen so you can see it pretty much. Going the wrong way. There you go. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. What you see laying here on the table, this is a fiber optic link. A fiber optic link has a connector on one end, piece of fiber cable, connector on the other end. The connectors need to match the type of fiber. How would you know what the type of fiber is? You would look at the jacket of the fiber before you removed it, and it'll tell you what kind of fiber you're putting in. That's the sort of thing you got to do at the shop before you go out. But this is a completed fiber link. Now, it's very short. This thing could be 1.5 miles long. It could be 10 miles long if it's single mode fiber. But this is what what's the right word? Academically, or the way you look at it, this is a fiber link. It happens to be a very short one, but that's a fiber link. Connector on this end, connector on this end, fiber here. Could be a splice along here or two along here somewhere if it's a very long fiber, but that's what makes a fiber link. Connectors on each end and a piece of fiber.